Hi, scholars. This is an audio version of the parts of an essay lecture. If you do not need to hear this, if you do better reading things on your own, then please don't listen to this one. Go to the one that is not audio. But for those of us who are audible learners and we have to hear things, I'm recording this. So before we go any further, if you notice in your essay one folder, there are some items that are in red. All of those items that are in red actually kind of go together to help you to learn. So if you want to take a few moments right now and pause this video, then find all of those items and put them where you can see them. I apologize if you don't have a printer at home. There was just no other way that I could show those to you. But you definitely need those items to kind of help you to make sense as to what's going on. Go ahead and pause this, and when you come back, just hit play. Okay, so we're going to begin by looking at what is an essay. In your red letter documents, one of them is an essay. It's the finished product that a student wrote about dangers in driving or driving dangers or something like that. Okay, all of your materials that are in red match that essay. Okay, so that is an essay. If you look at that paper, it's an essay. It's got 5 paragraphs, right? That's what your finished product will look like. Ladies and gentlemen, you may not use the same subject as the example, okay? I do not want you copying it in any way. So you can use it just for formatting. You can use it to look at the sentence length, that sort of thing. But you may not copy the subject matter. You may not write about driving dangers, okay? I want you to do your own work. So when we're looking at an essay is a short formal piece of writing. It deals with a single subject. That essay that you have in your hand or whatever on the screen, that is about one thing about driving dangerous. Now, she told us 3 different ways that we can drive dangerously or 3 different things that cause driving dangers, but it's still one big old topic, okay? Essays are typically written to persuade. That means you're trying to get me to see things your way. To inform, you're trying to tell me about something, or to entertain the reader. Okay? Your essay this time is the 5-paragraph informative essay. You may write about anything that you want to write about as long as it's in the proper format. Okay? Beginning level academic essays are typically 5 paragraphs long. Where have we heard that number 5 before? That's the same number of sentences that's in your basic paragraph, correct? And that's why we did that. I'm going to skip this slide because some of this information may not necessarily be correct. I know that we are starting with the informative essay. The rest of it, I'm not quite sure as to what order. But the takeaway from this slide is, even though we're starting with a 5-paragraph essay, your essays are going to grow in length. So the next essay will be longer. The essay after that will be longer, so on and so forth, because I want you all to get exposure to writing longer essays. Parts of an essay. If you looked at that video, the parts of an essay include the introduction, the body paragraphs, and the conclusion. If you're looking at the essay that you have in your hand about driving dangers, you see that the first paragraph is the introduction. The second, third, and fourth paragraphs are the body paragraphs. And the last paragraph is the conclusion. Those are the parts to any essay that you'll write. But the parts to the 5-paragraph essay that we are going to write are here, okay? Introduction is the first paragraph. Second paragraph is the first body paragraph. The third paragraph is the second body paragraph. The fourth paragraph is the third body paragraph, and the last one is the conclusion. So for each of these red parts, every one equals 1 paragraph. Your paragraphs must be 5 to 7 sentences long. Every one of these paragraphs has to be 5 to 7 sentences long. There are 5 parts here. So therefore, when I ask you to turn in your informative essay, it must be 5 paragraphs. If it's not 5 paragraphs, I will count off. Okay? So, in your packet, in the information, the red letter things, you have an example of a basic paragraph. This is the paragraph that you all started off writing last week, right? We've got our topic sentence here with the 3 topics. We've got our first major supporting detail, second major supporting detail, third major supporting detail, and concluding statement, which is a reworded version of the topic sentence, right? Nothing to write home about. This is what you all did last week. Okay. I want you to think of this basic paragraph as an outline for your outline. Okay. You'll see what the time comes, when the time comes, what I mean about that. So basic paragraph, outline for your outline, tells what direction your paper is headed in. But ladies and gentlemen, you may not use this basic paragraph as your introduction. I will say that again. You may not use the basic paragraph as your introduction or your conclusion for that matter. If I see that you have written a basic paragraph for your introduction or your conclusion, I will count off. Because those are not proper introductions and conclusions. When you look at the video on introductions, it tells you how to construct an introduction. We'll look at that a little bit here, but you'll see it more in your video, okay? So we're using this basic paragraph simply to plan the order of our essay, okay? But now we'll talk about an introduction. Introduction is the first paragraph of the essay. It gives the reader an idea of what they're about to learn about, and it presents an argument in the form of a thesis. A thesis is very important. In this class, and in much of your academic writing, the introduction will be the first paragraph of the essay. Ladies and gentlemen, your introduction in this class will always be the first paragraph of the essay. When you all go on to more advanced writing, your instructors may allow you to move that introduction to the second or third paragraph. But for this class, and in much of your academic writing, it will always be the first paragraph, okay? So I'm looking at driving dangers. I also made a document for you all for the introduction by itself. All that is that I've copied the introduction out of the essay, and I put it in a document by itself. Why did you do that, Mrs. Petkoff? I did that because your introduction will be due by the end of this week. This is what yours should look like. Do I want an entire essay from you? No. Do I want a basic paragraph from you? No. I want the introduction to your essay, okay? And in writing the introduction, what we notice is, remember that topic sentence that was for our basic paragraph? It was the first sentence of the basic paragraph. Now it becomes the last sentence of the introduction. The topic sentence of the basic paragraph becomes the last sentence of the introduction. When it becomes the last sentence, we now call it the thesis statement, okay? And just like that topic sentence told us what that entire basic paragraph was going to be about, the thesis statement tells us what the entire essay is going to be about. Look at your copy of your essay. Notice the first paragraph. The topic sentence that was for the basic paragraph is now the thesis statement. And then as you can see, the rest of the essay follows this paradigm. Notice how we have texting first here, and the first body paragraph that's under it is also about texting. Notice how we have drinking here as the second topic. That second body paragraph, which is really the third paragraph of the essay, it's about drinking, isn't it? And then your third body paragraph, which is the fourth paragraph of the essay, it's about zoning out, right? But we have to be able, just like we use that topic sentence for a guideline, now we have to use our thesis statement to make sure that we're writing about the topics in the right order. So then you say, well, Mrs. Petkoff, if this is the last sentence of the introduction, how do we get these other sentences? Aha! That's where we watched our video about introductions. If you haven't, please go watch it. And the instructor tells us different ways or different types of information we can put into an introduction. She tells us that we can use interesting facts. She tells us that maybe we can use a quote. She tells us that we can use background information. But the idea is we start kind of broad, meaning not really, really specific. and we kind of drill down to the three things that we want to talk about. Okay? So, for instance, nowadays drivers have begun developing excessively dangerous driving habits. Notice how the writer starts off. We know she's going to tell us something about driving habits, but we're not quite sure because she's very broad here. Not many people know, but driving is more dangerous than flying on a plane. Well, now she used an interesting fact, didn't she? And so you're going to continue like this. You start off broad and kind of narrow down until you get to the statement that you're going to be talking about in your paper. Mind you, your introduction has to be 5 to 7 sentences long. But whatever the last sentence is, it must be the thesis statement. Okay? The last sentence must always be the thesis statement. That's the first paragraph of our essay. If you're looking at the essay, it's the one that's right up under the title, right? If you're looking at the introduction, that's the one on the page by itself, okay? But this is not the basic paragraph, okay? Let's keep going. So we talked about the thesis statement. The thesis statement, which was that last sentence up there, remember? It tells what the body paragraphs of the essay will cover. In this class, the thesis statement will always be the last sentence of the introduction. Just like the introduction is always the first paragraph of the essay, the thesis statement is always the last sentence of the introduction in this class, okay? The topic sentence of the basic paragraph is what became the thesis statement, remember? Let's keep going. So, this is our introduction again, but I just made sure to circle the thesis statement so that you can see it, okay? So we've done our thesis statement. Now we're going to begin our body paragraphs. We're going to talk about the first body paragraph. That's the one that immediately follows the introduction. So if you're looking at your essay, we've already gone over the introduction. Go down to the second paragraph. The second paragraph on the page is actually the first body paragraph, okay? It talks about the first topic listed in the thesis. It begins with a topic sentence. But if we were looking at our basic paragraph, we would notice that this particular topic sentence was our first major supporting detail. Because remember, it starts with first, right? So it has to start with the transition word. So if we were looking at our basic paragraph, and we look at sentence 2 in there, that would actually be the topic sentence for this first body paragraph. Let's look. So, see, it starts off with first, texting and driving has caused 1.6 million crashes a year. This whole paragraph now is talking about texting and driving, okay? Whatever this topic sentence talks about, the whole paragraph talks about it. This paragraph also has to be 5 to 7 sentences long. Ladies and gentlemen, for your body paragraphs, you may construct these as basic paragraphs if you want to, okay? But for your introduction, they cannot be basic paragraphs, okay? But the whole thing has to talk about the same thing, texting and driving, okay? That was our first body paragraph. Our second body paragraph talks about the second topic listed in the thesis. It also must begin with a topic sentence, and the topic sentence this time was the second major supporting detail in the basic paragraph. So get your basic paragraph back out and put it up against the essay, okay? In the basic paragraph, that third sentence, which was the second major supporting detail, look, that's the same sentence right here. It's the topic sentence for this paragraph. This particular paragraph is going to talk about drinking and driving, okay? So the whole paragraph will talk about drinking and driving. This paragraph should not be talking about texting, even though it said in addition to texting, okay? But we've already covered texting before. Only thing that should be in here are things that relate to what? Drinking and driving. Notice how we kept that transitional phrase, right? That's why I told you all to do that, to get into the habit of doing it, because what that tells us is, okay, I'm through with body paragraph 1. Now I'm going to tell you something else in body paragraph 2, okay? We talked about introduction. We talked about body paragraph 1, body paragraph 2. Now we're going to talk about body paragraph 3. So if the first body paragraph talked about the first topic, And the second body paragraph talked about the second topic. What do we think the third body paragraph is talking about? It should be talking about the third topic, right? Third topic in the thesis. It begins with a topic sentence. This time, the topic sentence was the third major supporting detail in the basic paragraph. Get your basic paragraph back out. Get your essay back out. And let's match them up. Notice how that fourth sentence in that basic paragraph, that was that third major supporting detail. Now it's the topic sentence here, right? And so she kept her transition phrase in, but now she's talking about zoning out as a danger, a driving danger, okay? So this whole paragraph has to talk about zoning out. We can't talk about any other dangers in here but zoning out, because that's what this topic told us we were going to talk about. I wanted to remind you that your topic sentences must begin with transition words and phrases. We have talked about the introduction, first, second, third body paragraphs. Now we will talk about the conclusion. The conclusion is the last paragraph of the essay. Like the introduction, the conclusion contains the topics and in the same order, but the conclusion is a reworded version of the introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, please do not repeat the exact same words to me in the conclusion that you wrote in the introduction. Now, granted, the topics have to be in there. They have to be in the same order. But please do not copy and paste that introduction for the conclusion. Number one, they're written differently. We're going to talk about that in just a moment. But then number two, as a good scholar, you don't want to do that. You want to use your words, okay? So let's look at the conclusion. If you're looking at your essay, this is the last paragraph of the essay. If you're looking at your basic paragraph, this sentence is the last sentence of the basic paragraph. Notice how when we wrote our introduction, I'm going to go all the way back up. When we wrote our introduction, the thesis statement was the last sentence, right? And we had to add more to the top. But with the conclusion, the concluding statement is actually still the first sentence, and we have to add to the bottom, okay? So the idea is you're going to do you've made a circle. At the top, at the introduction, you said, this is what I told you I was going to talk about. First body paragraph, this is the first thing I told you. Second body paragraph, this is the second thing I told you. Third body paragraph, this is the third thing I told you. And by the time you get to the conclusion, you've made a circle. You've looped back up to the introduction, okay? Conclusion has to be 5 to 7 sentences long, just like the rest of the paragraphs, okay? So, please take time to look through the documents that I made for you to see how the parts correspond. When you begin doing your outlining, I want you to pay attention to how I listed the sentences from the essay on the example outline. And I want you to make yours look like mine. For the outline, you can have 5 to 7 sentences. That's why I have lines there, okay? But with the understanding, and I'll probably end up making a video for the outline, but with the understanding that there is a thesis statement and it has to go in the correct place. The concluding statement has to go in the correct place. But this will help you to get started. And if you have any questions, please let me know. Thanks.